Here's the thought for you. You forget to check that your electrical appliances are unplugged. You come home to find your house burning to the ground with your animals and belongings inside. That's a typical thought in my day as somebody with obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD. Hi, my name is Sarah, and today I'm going to talk to you about OCD and lean into the mischaracterization that it's a neat freak disorder. Think Monica from Friends. When in reality, it's just a little more complex than that. So today we're going to talk about the causes, effects, and treatments of OCD. All right, so what is OCD? Well, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, or NIMH, OCD is a long-term disorder characterized by obsessions, which are thoughts that are uncontrollable, disruptive, disturbing, and intrusive in nature, which lead to an anxiety response. And that is where compulsions come in. Compulsions are these repetitive behaviors done by one to ease the anxiety the obsessions bring about. All right, so what are the causes? Well, the causes can be biological. So think anything in your brain, any structure or area that's responsible for emotional regulation or impulse control. Those look a little bit different in those with OCD because they struggle with those things. Next up is genetic. So it's not known if there's a specific gene or mutation that can cause OCD, but it is known that there is a very extensive connection between first-degree relatives. So if you have a first-degree relative with OCD, you're more likely to get OCD yourself. Number 3, environmental. If you are raised in an abusive or dysfunctional household, that can lead to an increased likelihood of developing OCD, as can any traumatic events that cause anxiety when you're older, when you're younger, or any time in your lifetime. And lastly, emotional. So if you're naturally leaning towards a more negative temperament, say you're a little bit anxious or depressed, more so than the average person, and you have a history of childhood anxiety or depression, that can also make you a prime candidate for developing OCD. All right, so the effects of OCD. Effects on the individual, loved ones, and society. So on the individual, according to Dr. Natasha Santos' TED Talk, Debunking the Myths of OCD, it drains your energy, it drains your time because you're spending so much time hours even, to kind of engage in these compulsions to ease the anxiety of the obsessions, that you're oftentimes missing out on crucial life events. You isolate yourself because you're so distressed by the disturbing nature of your thoughts that you feel like other people are going to judge you harshly and negatively because of them. And then it keeps you from functioning on a most basic level. You can't get your work assignments done on time. You can't clean your apartment or your house. And you can't even go on a date or have a social life because you're just spending so much time on these compulsions. And fun fact, you can even appear catatonic, sitting in one place for days on end, staring at the wall and not moving. So let's go to the effects on the loved ones. So your family and your friends. Now because it's complex and little is known about it, many people are going to assume that you're a bad person. You're not. But those disturbing thoughts are very hard for other people to understand because they're hard for you to understand yourself. So it can cause a disconnect between your relationships and between your friends and family. And then, you can have a strain or just completely, as I said, disconnect. All right, so lastly, on society. So you're unable to work or you can't get your work done on time. Well, that's either disability or unemployment right there. And well, taxpayers have to account for that, and that is a big burden on them. And burnout rates are higher because you're having to hand off your work to a colleague, they're having to get it in, and that's just extra work on them. And then staff shortages because you're unable to work, then a business kind of suffers. And this is just any disruption basically in the supply and demand chain. All right, so what it looks like, it can look like checking your door lock a few times before you leave the house because you're superstitious that a robber's going to break in if you don't. And then the stigma. So you're seen as this evil villain type or a danger to society because your thoughts are so disturbing and distressing that other people just don't think you should be around anyone. And this can lead to underreporting, underdiagnosing, undertreatment of disorder, as well as unnecessary psychiatric hospitalizations, which only worsen public perception. And lastly, according to Mayo Clinic, your treatment options include cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, exposure and response prevention, ERP, and selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, a common form of antidepressant. And then you've got your electroshock, fun, right? You've got, which is also called electrocompulsive therapy or ECT. And then you've got your brain stimulant options, which are your deep brain stimulation, electrodes kind of helping with the electrical impulses of certain brain areas. So positive coping skills include taking your medications as advised, maintaining health care and mental health care appointments, and educating yourself. So the end. Basically, imagine living and having to remind yourself that you're a good person. It's an everyday battle. Thank you.